Hello and welcome back. I was lucky enough to get one of these Shakmat Griffins Claws quad attenuator recorders from them prior to release. So thank you very much to them for sending it to me to make this video. When you're building a modular system and you want to perform with it, you really need to have some good hands-on controls, things that let you affect the patch without having to reach over to too many places and your hands can do something else while your controller is taking care of business for you. So in this video today, I'm going to show how it works. We're going to go through all sorts of different patch ideas I came up using it. And along the way, you'll see different ways that you can incorporate a fader controller like this into your patches. So let's get started. For my first patch, I've just got a very basic setup going on. Here we have clock coming out of Palms Pro Workout, which is going to be clocking the Moskva 2 roto sequencer. I've got a very simple sequence programmed in here. The CV output from that's just driving the input for Odessa over here. That's going into a VCA and then over into C-legs for some delay and reverb. I've also got the gate output here triggering an envelope from Zadar, which is opening up the VCA. So let's just take a listen with some basic drums and hats here from Squid Sample going into my mini mix mixer. And it's a pretty straightforward, simple sound. Now, one of the reasons I picked Odessa was that you can get such a wonderful range of sounds out of it with just a little bit of modulation. So let's explore how we can use Griffin's Claws to modulate some of the parameters over here. Okay, to show Griffin's Claws in actions, let's turn down the harmonic factor over here on Odessa. And what that'll do is like bring down into a very low register one of the partials. And what we're going to do is we're just going to modulate this first of all so we can hear the effect. As I push up the voltage, the kind of the melody shifts. So I can play that in a way. Now I can also record this by just pressing the channel button and then moving the fader to where I want it to be, like this. And if I let go, it goes back to playing. And now you're hearing the recorded CV. And the LED here is showing what's currently being output. Now say I wanted to actually use the fader while the recorded pattern was playing. That's where the direct button comes into play. So what I would do is while the recording is playing, as you can see it's playing here as the LED changes, press direct and the channel that I want to directly control. Now I am controlling it directly. And if I go back, press the channel again, I'm back to playing the recording. You'll also notice if there's a recording, this LED is on to show something's recorded. I can clear the recording by pressing erase, the erase button and the channel. And now the recording's erased and we're back into free control mode. Now, the problem with what I was doing earlier was really we wanted that to be clock synced. We wanted to be able to synchronize the recording to the clock so that this was what I was doing here, which sounded nice, was in tune with the rest of what was going on. So now let's look at the different recording modes. So for this, we press the function button and we look down the bottom here, we see rate, amplitude, sync, and offset. So let's go over to sync because this allows you to choose the synchronization mode that each of the channels is in, and they can each be in different modes. Now, what does this mean? Now, if you look here, there's rate, amplitude, sync, and offset, and the orange text in the middle here is the sort of the cheat sheet. So we're on the third one, so there's free, clocked, and quantized. When you're in this mode, these two LEDs are flashing, so we're in synchronization setting mode, and you push the fader up to choose the different mode for each channel. So I could choose channel 2 to be one, channel 3 to be a different, and leave channels 1, 4 alone. Let's set channel 1 to clocked mode, which if you push it midway, you see here, the clocked mode is just this blinking pattern. If you push it all the way to the top, you're in quantized mode, which is this sort of irregular blinking pattern. So let's go back to clocked mode. So now here. Okay, to go back, we just press the function key. Now this channel is going to be in clocked mode, which means it will synchronize the recording to a clock. So let's give it a clock, and there's a clock input here. So I'll just take my clock from the output of Palms over there. And now we can go ahead and try our recording. a bit better because now the recording is in sync with a clock. But it's still not actually quantized to a bar. Like, say we wanted to actually have it be in tune with, or in step with a proper bar. Well, that's where we get into the press function and sync, this quantized mode, which if we push the fader all the way up the top, now quantizes the recording to bar lengths. Now, you can set the number of beats in a bar using the time signature. We'll get to that option a little bit later on when we go into that. But for now, let's just assume it's a 4/4 beat in the bar that we're going to be recording. So I'll go ahead and erase that recording, hit play, press and hold the button to record it. Not quite musical, but the idea here is to show it being quantized. Now, let's look at another way we can use the Griffins Claws. And for this, we're going to, say, modulate the warp parameter over here, which affects the sound of the voices. So let's just clear out this recording here. And I've gone ahead and I've turned up the attenuator input here on Odessa, and I've also dialed up the density. So let's just take a listen. Now, what I'd like to have here is like an LFO modulating this. Now, of course, I've got plenty of LFOs in my case, but say I didn't. How would we be able to use channel 2 on Griffin's Claws as an LFO? I want it to be a clock synced LFO. So let's go over function and sync. So we're in synchronization mode. We'll set channel 2 to be clocked. Press function. And now let's go ahead and record an LFO movement into channel 2. So we'll hit play. Off I go, just modulating away. And now the modulation plays back, and it's clock synchronized. But I think it's a little bit too much modulation. The amplitude of that LFO is too big. How could I reduce that down? How would I be able to shrink the amount of the voltage coming out of that channel? For this, we're going to look at the amplitude menu option. So as before, we press function and this button here to get into amplitude mode. Now, by default, and if you want the cheat sheet, you'll see here for amplitude, you look at the second channel, or second piece of text, a column of text, a little hard to read. It says 0, 50, 100 there. So if the slider is all the way at the maximum there, that is 100% output. So we get the maximum level of output. But if I bring it down, now we're reducing the range of output to something a little bit more sensible, a little bit more manageable. Now, the other thing is, I think that modulation is too fast. I'd like to slow down that the recording playback so that it's actually a little bit less kind of dramatic that's going on. And for this, we're going to look at the rate menu. So let's go ahead and press function and rate. And again, on the orange text cheat guide here in the middle, slow, mid, and fast. Now, this allows you to speed up or slow down ×2 the speed of the playback. And now in a clocked mode, it'll kind of stay in sync with the clock. So let's go down and slow that down. Now, you see the LED here on fader 2, which means channel 2 is blinking slowly. If I went here on mid, that's just regular clock synced to the clock. And here it would be fast, so it would be twice as fast. So let's slow it on down. Now let's play this back and hear the effect it has. Now you see our modulation is much. We'll use our channel 1, of course. Still be playing that. Much slower degree of modulation. Let's increase the amplitude on channel 2. Let's say I wanted to speed up the rate on channel 2. Now it's going really, really fast. This also applies over here on channel 1. We could speed up and slow down that. So if I'm using it to adjust, say, the pitch or different offsets over here, the same concept would apply. Now let's look at another patching example. And this time I'm going to switch oscillators over to twin waves here. We're going to go into your analog filter 8 and then into C legs for some delay. And what I want to explore this time is how we can use the channel normalization here in Griffin's Claws to mix LFOs, to offset bipolar LFOs, and also to explore some audio mixing examples. First of all, we've got a very, very straightforward sequence going on here using a square wave kind of oscillator, steps oscillator in twin waves through filter 8, so we get some lovely, nice filtering effects, which we can modulate, of course. So let's do that. I've got a bipolar soul wave coming out of Batumi over here, and if I patch it into Griffin's Claws, first of all, let's explore what happens when we have just free mode on and nothing special set up. So I'm going to use this little mult here, which is really, really handy because it shows me negative and positive voltages, and so obviously the LFO is moving quite fast. If I use the attenuator here in free mode on channel 1, I'm just attenuating the incoming LFO value. Okay, so that's great. We can just say use that straight away to modulate the filter, for example. Now there's a little thresholding going on there because this won't light up if the voltage goes too low, but it is still sending voltage through. Now I can, of course, record as before. And now the attenuation is recorded because that's what we're recording. We're recording the fader movement, not necessarily the voltage coming in. Nice. Now, say I wanted to offset this bipolar LFO. So it's going negative and it's going positive, but I don't want it to go positive. Sorry, I don't want it to go negative. I just want it to stay positive. Well, for that, we can use the offset function and take advantage of the channel normaling here. So all of the outputs are normaled into each other. So if we don't patch anything into output 1, but instead patch it into output 2, the output of output 1 is right now normaled, as you see here, into the input of channel 2. Then what I do is go to function and offset. Now this is the last button here, so it corresponds to the 4th column, which is hard to read, 0 volt, 5 volt, 10 volt. But this basically means you can apply an offset to the incoming bipolar signal on the input of the channel. And in this case, the input of the channel is whatever is coming out of channel 1. So channel 1 is attenuating it, and in channel 2, we'll just apply a bipolar offset input. So now if I press function and button 4 here to select offset mode, and say I apply an offset of value of, say, 5 volts to it, press function here. Now as I dial up the attenuation of that offsetting amount, you'll see that my LFO doesn't go negative anymore. It stays green there, which corresponds to the sound definitely changing over here. I can reduce the amount of the offset applied. Very nice. So not only can I attenuate the incoming signal, I can apply a selective offsetting amount. In this case, the offset value I chose, if we go to function offset here, the LED is in the mid position, so the LED is mid, shall we say dimmed. We're applying a 5 volt, positive 5 volt offset. Let's go apply a 10 volt offset now. Press function to exit that mode. And now again, channel 1 is attenuating the incoming bipolar signal. So you're seeing the fader movement there we recorded earlier. And now let's bring up that offset. Pretty much wiping out any of the incoming LFO because I'm applying a positive 10 volt offset. Of course, because channel 1's in free mode, I can slow it down. And all of this can be, all of these fader movements could be recorded, of course. Now let's look at using Griffin's Claws as an audio mixer. So I'm going to take the sub oscillator out of twin waves here into input channel 3. And I'll just take the output of input channel 3 into the input of second input on filter 8. And now I can up the modulation. So you see, we're able to do a little bit of audio mixing and at the same time still be doing offsetting and attenuating and recording all of that. Of course, we've also got the ability to normal both the inputs here for the audio mixing. So let's take the regular oscillator out and the sub oscillator out. And so we've got our LFOs being mixed over here and attenuated. And I'll go ahead and set the offset on this back down to 5 volts. And we've got the audio on these two channels being mixed. Let's take a listen. Now we don't hear anything, so if we just bring up what we had previously, there's channel 3 is the basic oscillator, and there's the sub oscillator. Now, of course, we can actually record the mixing and fader movements here to get almost a recording, an automation recording of our mix. So I've gone ahead and erased both anything I've recorded previously on channels 3 and 4. What I want to do is set them both to clocked mode here. So they will record the modulations to the incoming clock. We'll make sure the amplitude is set to maximum for both of them. And we'll make sure that the offset is at 0. And that also gives us logarithmic mixing, which is ideal for audio. When we hit play, I can bring up and hold. And I'm recording now into channel 3. And now it's playing that back. Now I'm going to record. There's channel 4 playing, and I'll record some more over channel 3. And off we go. And now this is just adjusting the relative amplitude. And of course we can go into direct mode if we wanted to control it directly. Press the channel button and we leave direct mode. Now let's try another example that we can use the Griffins Claws for. I'm going to try and transpose the sequence here from Moscow. So let's just go ahead and take a listen. We'll bring up the oscillator. Obviously that's far too great a range to transpose through, so we'll adjust the amplitude of channel 1. Make it a lot smaller. Now we can record, and I have this in clock sync mode. Off it goes, playing that back. And we might actually change that to be in quantized mode. Okay. Off it goes. Now we can play around with fader 2. Again, we'll adjust the amplitude because it's just a bit too much. But the nice thing is you don't have to try and get the amplitude right. We could record this now. And then maybe adjust the amplitude a little later. Now, the last couple of things I want to show you are actually quite powerful, but require a little bit of, wouldn't call it menu diving, but mode switching. When you press the direct and erase buttons together, the light lights up, and now we get into certain options that are available. Now, you wouldn't be changing these all the time, so they're kind of a little bit buried here, and the grey text on the front shows you what happens. You're able to select the output of gate 1 and gate 4 here. Now, channels 1 and 4 get special treatment in that they're able to generate gates under certain circumstances, and we can use that to trigger envelopes and play notes or trigger drums. We can also use the second fader here to turn on and off the select bus underneath if you wanted to connect multiple Griffins Claws together, and you can adjust the quantization time signature from 4/4 beats to the bar all the way up to 9/4 beats to the bar. But for this example, we're going to focus on these end of cycle and gate modes. Then the other thing you need to do is turn on sample and hold mode. Now, sample and hold mode is enabled by pressing the button corresponding to the channel that you want to be in sample and hold mode. Now, sample and hold mode is independent from the gate outputs. For example, sample and hold mode could be used to sample an input here and then generate a sample and holded version of it on the output, just like a standard sample and hold module will do. But for this example, we're going to do those two things. We're going to turn on the change mode for channel 1, and we're going to turn on sample and hold for channels 1 and 4 for now. Press function to go back. And now when I plug in this little mult here, we're able to see every time I move the fader, I get a gate generated, or in this case, a trigger, which of course we can do the obvious thing, which is let's pop that right over into a trigger input here on ZR for an envelope. And now we can also send the output of this channel into the volt per octave input here on twin waves. And I have twin wave set to quantize over here. We'll just turn on the clock. The pitch range is far too large to be useful, so we can always adjust the amplitude down. Here we'll bring it down to a much smaller range. But we can take advantage of something else, which is the normaling here, to use the output 2. If we go into the offset here and set it to, say, a 5-volt offset, output 2 can enable us to pitch up and down when we move the slider. And I have channels 1 and also channel 2 to both be in quantized mode. Now we can record something by just pressing and hold the channel button and moving the fader. Let's see if I can get something reasonably musical. Not too bad. I can now use channel 2 to offset this. Might reduce the amplitude on channel 2 a little bit there. We got a little bit of an offset going on. We have some delay over here. Nice. So what we've done here now is programmed in a melody and then used channel 1 and used channel 2 as the kind of an offset to create transpositions. Well, while we're busy here doing this, let's use channel 3 to modulate the wave shape, because the all of the twin waves oscillators have different wave shapes. So we can hit play here. And we'll go ahead and synchronize that to quantized mode as well. We're having fun now. Let's bring in some drums. Now, what about doing something else with this channel 4 here? I'm going to route the clap through this delay over here, so we can get a kind of a effect like that. And now we can use channel 4 to modulate, turn up the attenuator as a kind of an effect. Now I've just CV mapped the kick to invert the output here, so I mute the kick volume when I'm doing the claps. You know, I really like this preset. I'd like to save it for later. How do I save things? Well, there's a load and save function here on the faceplate. So let me show you how to do that. You press function and save here, which is under erase. You'll see save there in kind of an orange text. And the way this works is there's 4 banks, and you select the bank you want to save in by using fader to select the bank. So fader 2 is bank 2, bank 3, bank 4. Let's go back to bank 1. And then the 4 buttons are the 4 save slots per bank. So you can save up to 16 presets. Let's go ahead and pick slot number 4. I press the save button. The LED flashes very quickly to show it's been saved. And I have now saved this preset into slot 4. And now if I wanted to go and load a different preset, I could go in here into load mode, bank 1, and I think, where did I have a preset that here's one I made earlier, as they say on cooking shows. And I press load, the load LED flashes, and I think, as you can see, that was a different kind of melody programmed in and slightly different settings here. Well, I hope you enjoyed this video showing all the different ways I've come up with using Griffins Claws. I was kind of surprised actually when I first saw it. I was like, oh, this is just a 4-channel fader controller. What can I do with this? But there's actually a lot of tricks you can build on with this. As always, let me know what you think in the comments down below. I love hearing from everybody. Don't forget to hit the old subscribe button, because that lets you keep up to date with the channel. Ring the bell if you want to. And thanks for watching. I'm going to jam away here.